Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly, and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some really important updates talking about the US dollar index as well as the SPX. We're going to finish up this video by sharing with you guys one of my favorite long-term altcoins, an altcoin that's been around since the last cycle, and it's maintained a really positive price trajectory. I'm going to be explaining to you guys why I actually think that this looks like the market cycle of silver, and what we could potentially see coming from the altcoins moving forward from here. If you're new and just finding this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Always remember to click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos like the one provided for you here. And make sure you guys sign up and join the Discord server or download my free ebook. Links are going to be provided for you in the description for both. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, so to start off today's video, we're going to be quickly talking about Bitcoin. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on today's video because I think that there's just some important things we need to cover, and it's not going to take a lot of time for me to get through it. Now, I wanted to spend more time today talking a little bit more about altcoins because I know a lot of you guys have been having a lot of questions. Now, when it comes to analyzing what is going on with Bitcoin, we've been having just an extremely choppy period, and that's why I've been telling you guys the best thing to do is pretty much just wait. And not get too excited trying to trade all of this, because we ping-ponged back and forth in this range for, the better part of a month. We finally broke out of the range, and then we immediately came back in it. We made another attempt to break out of the highs, immediately got stuffed back, and then we bounced back again and immediately kind of sold back down. So this is obviously more of the same as what we already experienced through here. But I will say that this price action is looking a lot more bullish. The fact that this price action is starting to look more like higher highs, I honestly think it's likely that this is going to end up breaking out and at least making a lower high. Because keep in mind, guys, that yes, we are still in a bearish trend in the short term. We do have some descending resistance that we're going to watch. Really where this moving average is right here, this is where our resistance is going to be for the most part. And so I do expect that we're going to at least tag this. It wouldn't be a very big move for us to hit this. And if we were able to break out of this resistance, then we could definitely look for a bigger move upwards of about, I'm not sure the exact price, but this is going to be about $40,000. And if it really decided to move and we came up to even the top of this resistance of the moving average, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin ran into the mid 40,000s. This is something that could definitely happen, mainly because after a sustained period of selling inside of Bitcoin, Bitcoin generally will have a large move to the upside. Even if we ultimately just end up going back down and further consolidating, for the most part, Bitcoin will just make these big moves. And over the last year and a half, that's been the case. Every downsized move has came up with a large move to the upside. I'm not saying that this move has to go into new all-time highs or has to run up to there, but I do believe that we'll get a nice bounce, at least making another lower high. Because aside from this resistance, I'm not going to pay that one a whole lot of attention because we can look at the moving average. But we have this bigger resistance up here. And so that's going to put us, pretty close to about the mid 30,000s, just under that $40,000 level. And that would be a lower high below our previous support over here, right? And so we're going to watch and see exactly what's going to happen with Bitcoin. I do think in the short term we're going to be rallying up. And so that will be a good time to do whatever you're trying to do. For the most part, plan ahead for your trading plan. I just think that for the most part that the rest of this year is going to be pretty choppy. No matter if we're going up a little bit, I think that we'll come back down, and we could spend this being some type of a breakout of this trend line, and then the whole rest of this year could be us kind of falling back down to retest it, and things just being really slow like that. I honestly think that things are going to be pretty slow for the rest of the year, aside from a lot of volatility both up and down. So there should be a point in the cycle where things really start to level out, but we've already been through these sort of periods where we've been through a couple months where things don't really do a whole lot besides a lot of choppy price action. And so this is already pretty much, half as long as this was, or half as long as this was. We're already getting pretty extended throughout this period of sideways action. And so there's really no reason to suspect that we're not going to once again continue to do this type of price action. Even if we do see a move to the upside, I would expect a move to the downside, and then we'd most likely just continue another length of consolidation that's more like this. It could be a little bit less choppy. It could be a little bit more sideways, like classic accumulation. But for the most part, guys, this is probably going to be a pretty slow rest of the year. That would just be my guess. I don't necessarily think we're going to be breaking below this lowest point. I think we can definitely retest it and have, maybe a capitulation type event that's like we had back here. Because you guys got to remember that we kind of had two different capitulations back in 2014 and 2015. We had our first one after the initial bear market decline, this big V bottom that took place. We kind of went sideways, made a bull trap, and then we made this second major capitulation attempt back down. Now, if you're looking at the Coinbase chart, this actually wicked all the way back down, pretty much all the way down to the support of this one. And so we went through two periods of capitulation to really shake out all of those weak hands. And so I honestly think that we could definitely see something similar. Maybe we do a move like this, and then this initial sell-off on the way down is just a big V bottom type move where we do something like that and then continue on, into the next cycle. These are all things we need to consider, and so that's why I think that for the most part, what I plan on doing is in this move up here, I'm going to de-risk myself. Any leveraged positions for the most part, I can cut those at a slight profit to break even depending on where I took those. And then, I'm not going to be holding throughout waiting to decide what's going to happen, because at the end of the day, I'm not 100% certain how the whole rest of this year is going to shake out, besides the fact that I do believe it's going to be volatile. And so I'd rather just be kind of sitting flat. With the leverage positions that I'm no longer holding, I could just look to hold cash. And so there will be buying opportunities. And so that's the big thing I think we need to pay attention for. Now, let's actually talk about the DXY, because there's some important things going on here as well. Now, we're kind of just going sideways for the most part, forming somewhat of a bottom formation after our sustained downtrend. This was also coming after a pretty big rejection off of our multi-year resistance level. We've been watching this for a while now. And so this move on to the upside is coming after our initial rejection up. Everything so far is playing to plan. We want to continue to see sell-side pressure coming in here. And thus far, we kind of have. Now, this itself, isn't really giving us any confirmation between our moving averages. On the shorter time frames, we do have a little bit of hidden bearish divergence here. We can see that we made a higher high in price, and, really, this isn't a solid signal because this is pretty much just retesting the previous high. So you can really say that it's not really a true confirmed thing on any of our moving averages. And then when we get over here to the OBV, we're still technically maintaining support. So until we break below this convincingly and this becomes resistance, we're really not going to get any true confirmation unless price really just starts to drop from here. Breaking below this trend line, in my opinion, would show the same thing on the OBV. That would show that this hidden bullet or bearish divergence materializes, and then that should set us up for the next major drop. If we get another major drop, that's where we're ultimately going to see Bitcoin do this type of a move to the upside. So we're going to finally see the stock cement a bottom, because if we look at the stock market, once again, we're literally just consolidating below resistance. You could call this a bull flag. You could call it, I don't know. It doesn't really matter what you call it. The thing that we need to see is us break out of this and make a higher high. We're still below this resistance, and that's kind of what we're doing right now is just this consolidation below. But generally, the lengthier the consolidation below resistance, the more times it reacts to that, the weaker that level is. And so you can make the same conclusion that was this $30,000 level for Bitcoin. And we did technically break below that level, right? If we draw a line over here, this entire period of time of accumulation over here, we were bouncing off this. Bouncing. And then even over here when we initially declined, we weren't even hitting this level. We were bouncing a lot above it. And so that's what made me think that originally we were going to continue to break out. Obviously that wasn't the case. We got another big move to the downside. And then this was us not necessarily breaking that level, because we really didn't break it, but we did get a sizable sweep to the lows below that, and we got a nice move below that level, right? It was like 10% or something. If we draw a line, about 10% that we went below that. And so that's kind of the thing that we need to watch out for when it comes to watching these different price charts. Really with the SPX, if we invert the scale, I like to do this sometimes because you can kind of see a different story. Sometimes it can look a little bit more bullish, sometimes it can look a little bit more bearish. But really, we don't have any sort of confirmation right here. This can easily just be a short-term, well, technically this would be bearish continuation if we started to go up, but we can really go either way. You know, we see the potential that this could just be a short-term retest of this level before we start breaking out and going into a much deeper move. If we went for a much deeper move, then about 3,500, pretty much where this level is drawn, is where I would think that the stock market would be headed. It'd be a pretty nasty move. I'm not necessarily anticipating that this is going to be the way it plays out, but it literally can go either way because we don't have confirmation. Now, in the same way, this could just be our point in which we're finally going to break this level. If we can finally break, should be bullish break if we invert the scale so you guys aren't so confused anymore. If we can get a bullish break above this move, then in my opinion, that cements our bottom end for crypto. Even if we have to go through a lengthier period of consolidation, which I think is to be expected at this point, you know, that's what's going to just have to take place. Now, guys, I wanted to actually get into talking a little bit about the altcoins today, talking a little bit about Bitcoin dominance and seeing what we can potentially see from here. Now, when we look at the Bitcoin dominance, we have finally broken from this descending triangle. It's not impossible to see breakouts from descending triangles. It happens sometimes. But with us actually breaking outside of this move, you know, there's a couple things I'm watching for. In the short term, if we see a pullback to just retest our previous resistance level, I don't think that it's going to last long. We would basically be bouncing back up. And we're most likely going to get a move, in my opinion, would most likely clear our high up here. That is the top of our descending triangle. That's where I think that we're going to get a move to at least, which is about 49%. I think it's definitely possible that we could get a move upwards of 52 to even like 53% dominance. That would be a move past all of our resistance levels, a nice bull trap on the way up. And then really, it doesn't really matter long term because I think that this is going to be trending down. That's just kind of the way that the entire chart for the history of all time has been working out. It's been in a confirmed downtrend for a significant period of time. Even if we get a move all the way up to like 56%, retest our moving averages up here, it really doesn't change the fact that I do believe that this is going to continue to trend down over time. And when we look at certain altcoins like Ethereum against Bitcoin, you know, it is selling off from our original uptrend up here. We did break down from this trend line, but I don't believe that this is something that's just going to completely, you know, fall off and restart a brand new cycle. This isn't really anything that I look at and think to myself, oh wow, this thing's dead, never going to come back. This to me just looks more like the disbelief phase of a market cycle, where this is really our first breakout attempt. It's not any sort of sizable move that's really convinced everybody that, hey, this thing's going to take off in a big way. In my opinion, it's more along the lines of this type of a move over here. Really even less than that, because keep in mind that this was at least a move past our previous all-time highs. This one never got past those previous all-time highs. But this is a lengthy period of rounding sort of accumulation. We've never really had a big move to the upside. A lot of altcoin Bitcoin pairs never really had a move to the upside. So when we're looking at this, I still think that we can follow a 4-year cycle. It can still stretch all the way to the end of the year before we ultimately find a true move to where we start going back up to the upside. But I don't think that it matters big picture over the course of the next 5 years. I believe the altcoins, specific altcoins, the ones like Ethereum, maybe Chainlink, some of those, I think that those ones are going to continue to sort of uptrend against their Bitcoin pairs. They're undervalued. Bitcoin has a much higher market cap, and when it comes to the likes of Ethereum, it just simply provides more value as far as being able to build and do a lot more with it. Not that I don't think Bitcoin is valuable, there's just more overall utility with something in the likes of Ethereum or even Chainlink for the most part. They're all valuable in their own way. But I just don't think that this is a cycle that's over. This to me just looks like the early part of a disbelief phase. If we come over here and actually pull it up, we talked a little bit about this in the last video we had. But I mean, when you're inside of, you've gone through this part of the cycle, look, it even looks exactly the same. That's why I love the Wall Street cheat sheet. People that will talk down on it just simply don't know how to use it. Obviously, the charts aren't going to follow this 120% exact. But I mean, it's not meant to be, oh, I have this Wall Street cheat sheet. This is exactly what I'm going to be looking for. It's more of just a reference point to look at because it's not going to be the perfect answer inside the cycle. But what we can see here is pretty much the same turn of events. I mean, this cycle looks a little bit different. This was more of our cycle peak. This was our real mania. And then we had this big move to the downside, and this was our lower high. So this move here is a little bit different. We actually start getting our true, complacency, anxiety, denial, panic, and capitulation. All of those more or less come in right here. So it's a little bit different than this exact chart, and that's the thing we need to remember is no charts are going to be 100% the same. The Wall Street cheat sheet's not going to make this exact chart every single time, but it does follow the same turn of events. Now, we're going to follow the bearish cycle of things because technically Bitcoin topped here. Altcoin, Bitcoin pairs made lower highs. They technically topped early part of 2017. Whereas Bitcoin ran to 20K here, altcoins made lower highs. But this would have been complacency. So right here we get complacency. Or technically, that would have been our euphoria. Complacency is right here, right? Anxiety, denial, panic, that's all right here. And then this is capitulation, pretty much this last sell-off there. Now, capitulation and anger, it's this little move here, right? And then that's what takes us to our depression, this lower low. This looks exactly the same as this move right here. Capitulation would have been right here. Anger would have been right here. This was depression all throughout this period where we're literally doing almost nothing besides this type of stuff. That's depression. And if you guys notice, disbelief, this is a sucker's rally. This is the first higher high that the cycle makes. Nobody actually thinks it's going to be taking off. And it seems so much like that today because we're at this point in the cycle where we didn't see a blow off top. It caught a lot of people off guard, including myself. This bear market, if you call it a bear market, has been very different than anything we've ever seen. This is the first time in which we've ever been through, a lengthy period of bearish consolidation or a bear market in which the Bitcoin pairs of altcoins never actually took off. And so I think because of all of these reasons, because altcoin Bitcoin pairs never really had a true cycle from our entire move from $3,200 to $69,000, I believe that it's ultimately just a lengthening cycle and a 4-year cycle kind of combined. It's all kind of in one. And the reason why, a lot of people have written off these altcoins is because they never really had a major move inside of our most recent cycle. Yes, Ethereum made a big move to 4,500. ADA did well. Binance Coin did well. Many other altcoins did well. But it was more outliers, right? And that was kind of what we saw in 2016 was at the very first of that cycle. This would have been when Ethereum went from, 50 cents to like $20 to $6. That was this move here. This entire move over the last couple years seems more along the lines of this, right? Where we just had our very beginning stages, where it was just the very early point of that. It just seems like it took a lot longer of a cycle to do that same type of move. So that's why I ultimately think that in my trading plan, I think that we are in a state of lengthening cycles, but we're also in a period where we follow 4-year cycles. So we'll probably be real slow till the end of this year when our projected 4-year cycle low is set to be in. But I don't believe that it's ultimately going to completely write off the potential of altcoins having a cycle just because many of the Bitcoin pairs didn't. This to me just looks like a classic example of the disbelief phase in a market cycle. And even the volume, which I'm on Binance, so I'm not sure how the volume will look here. But we can see that, in this move over here before the breakout, we did start to see a lot of volume. We've seen consistent volume, much bigger volume than anything we've ever seen. And so there is reason to believe we will have a new cycle. So I share with you guys these things just to educate, to inform, share with you guys different perspectives. If you found value in this, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos. If you guys want to join the Discord server, download my free ebook. Links are in the description. If you guys would also like to simply join my VIP group, follow all the trades that I take, NFT picks, all of that stuff. Links are in the description to go ahead and join my website. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.